Abdullah Al-Arian joins me now live from Doha. He's an assistant professor of history at Georgetown University's School of Foreign Service in Qatar. Abdullah, thank you for your time. What do you think are some of the biggest lessons learnt since Mubarak fell 5 years ago?
Well, I think that what you've seen is certainly that this was not a true revolution in the way that perhaps many of the supporters of the January 25th movement, expected it to play out in the months following the removal of Hosni Mubarak. I mean, it's not enough just to get rid of the president, the head of that government. In fact, there had to be a cleansing of all of the state's institutions to avoid the kind of counter-revolutionary measures that we've seen since then, with the return of the military, return of the figures from the old regime. And I think that many of the different political actors at that time clearly did not anticipate the return of the old regime in such a ferocious kind of way as we've seen since the coup of 2013.
And does he still have any support in Egypt?
Well, in terms of the Mubarak regime, I think that's over. That no one is thinking in any realistic sense that Hosni Mubarak has any kind of a political future or any support. I think people perhaps miss the stability that came before the instability of the 2011 movement. And so perhaps any kind of sympathetic expressions that you're hearing now are more about the idea that, the economy was more stable, the country was certainly more secure. But many people are also not forgetting the reasons that gave rise to the 2011 uprising in the first place. Of course, the lack of any kind of economic equality, the lack of justice, the complete and rampant corruption and cronyism that marked the latter years of the Mubarak era. And I don't think that anyone is really calling for a return to that. I think, if anything, people would like to see upholding of the principles of the 2011 movement, economic justice, respect for human dignity, and certainly things that we've seen completely degraded in the 2 years since the coup.
Well, in that case, do you think the Egyptian revolution has a future? What hopes are there given the state of the opposition repression at the moment?
Well, I think what we're seeing now, given the kind of tactics that are being employed by the Sisi regime, is an attempt to kind of put an end completely to any sort of opposition, whether it's the killing of protesters, the imprisonment of over 40,000 political prisoners in Egypt. The kind of reign of terror that's being carried out by this regime is an attempt to put an end to any sort of opposition. But the promise that the coup came in with, that there would be a restoration of the economic situation, that there would be security restored to Egypt, I think it's failed miserably on those fronts. Certainly there's no security in the country. If we look at the continued insurgency, and we're also not seeing any kind of restoration of the economy. And as a result, I think you're going to continue to see opposition into the future.
Okay. Thank you, Abdullah. Abdullah in Doha there.